You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA. You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA.
Hello and welcome to episode 365 of the fabulous Peltoncast, sponsored by our friends at Pagliacci Pizza. I'm your co-host, Kevin Pelton.
And I'm Tristan Carcino.
And we are coming to you from Renton, Washington, home of the Super Bowl 48 champion Seattle Seahawks.
Hello. Who is it this week? Is this Jermaine Ifedi?
I believe Jermaine Ifedi was number 65.
Okay.
I should know by this point that I should have the jersey numbers Excel file
Kyle
just
Ben
up
should
and ready to go. We didn't hear from Kyle Ben last week.
I'm a little shocked.
I do not have Jermaine in there, although I'm pretty sure he was, in fact, 65. UW offensive lineman Frank Garcia.
Oh, wow. Going
time.
way back.
Longtime member of the
You
Carolina
really went
Panthers.
through like 90s and early 2000s UW offensive linemen.
Well, what I did was I just went through an all-time UW roster by number and picked out whoever's name seemed notable to me. And again,
And they were all offensive linemen from the 90s.
well, in the 60s, I think that was going to be the only option. I don't know who else was going to come out there. I believe Frank Garcia was part of the 91 team, wasn't he? Might have redshirted that year, but he was definitely at UW in 1991. So
Him and Joel McHale.
was part of the Whammy in Miami. So there you go. There you go. Also, is this being our 365th episode? You could now listen
Wow.
to a Peltoncast weekly episode every day of the year if you want to do
Oh,
for
man. And you
some
want to
reason.
do that
It'd
starting
be-
in episode 1.
It'd be a Julie in Julia style project where you listen to one Peltoncast a day, and then I guess you record your own podcast.
I don't know this. I'm not familiar with this reference. Julian Julia.
It was like a writer who did Julia Child's cookbook and did. I don't know if it was a recipe or day. I may be making that
her
part.
name was Julie, and
Yes.
Julia Child was the cookbook and did one per day,
Yes.
and then made content based upon around that.
Yep.
For their own story based upon Julia Child's how they evolved, and it was really a transformation of a human person for the last year, but with the central focus point being Julia Child's recipes. But actually, you understand a year in the life of a human being.
Wow. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that we're talking about.
It is.
And you could do that with the Peltoncast.
You could do that with the Peltoncast if you so desire.
Please don't.
Definitely do not. Especially the audio quality on those early episodes.
The-
no one
The
wants
thing
that.
is, with all of the extra pods we've done, we've blown past 1 year of podcasting.
Oh, I mean, we are well over 500 podcasts
There we
all
go.
time. I think solidly, probably around 600 by this point, I would bet. Let's get into our beer this week as we continue our search for Seattle's best IPA. We're starting this week with the Stoop Citra IPA,
Okay.
which you questioned me whether this actually counted.
I really don't understand the rules of this. You make complicated brackets. You've made some sort of rules
Perfectly
for the
normal brackets.
You make perfectly normal brackets. I'm just trying to understand what the rules are for what we're drinking.
It's got to be an IPA. You doing okay there?
I am doing okay.
It's got to be an IPA.
I told you this is my flu game before we started, aka slightly tired.
He was staring off into the distance for a while right before we
Went
got going. I
went
was
to
like,
a
"That's how you
Rainiers
know."
game and drank a few beers during the day, and now it's nighttime.
Wait, did you drink Rainiers?
No, they don't have Rainier at Rainiers games.
What?
This was actually a topic of conversation while I was there.
It better have been.
Yeah. No, it's kind of wild because literally everywhere you look, there is the Rainier logo. On the taps, the tap handles, there is a Rainier tap handle. What would be Rainier? In this case, it's for the Rainiers. And it's Michelob Ultra.
That is very offensive. Get it together, Cheney Stadium.
No. This is not a Cheney Stadium issue, though. They have many fine local and craft brews.
Okay.
So Cheney Stadium is doing what they should be doing. They've
Do
got
they-
7 Cs.
Okay, I
They
was
don't have
gonna say.
Heidelberg, but they do have 7 Cs there. So Cheney Stadium is doing a good job of representing the beer in the area.
So you're saying the issue here is Rainier moving out of the Seattle area?
I think a larger issue might be Rainier beer.
Well,
That was the intel we
there's
got.
an even larger issue of the beer industry in the United States and the consolidation of legacy brands.
The intel that we got was that Rainier is not interested in having any sort of partnership with the Rainiers. Look, it's wild.
We're going to use our platform to do what we can here. And obviously, it's a real platform. Many people at Rainier Brewing listen to this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Or at Pabst Miller Coors? What are they part of now at this point?
Miller Coors.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, the thing is, I feel like it comes down to distributors. Anyway, that's way too complicated. But like, it was a little shocking that they didn't have.
We got to find the Macklemore banner, and we got to get Rainier at Rainier's games.
We need to have some sort of special Peltoncast partnership where they bring in Rainier Tallboys specifically for Cheney Stadium. When the Peltoncast headlines Cheney Stadium.
Look, they have music festival there, don't they?
Do they?
I'm pretty sure they held a music festival there last fall.
Claw's thing is 2 nights sold out at Stadium High School.
Oh.
That's their thing. That's what they want to have. For us, sold out Cheney Stadium for the
I don't know if
Peltoncast.
that's our number one thing. But
Also, I don't know why we're in Tacoma.
Yeah, it's not really our plans. I would for sure go to a Stadium High School Edom Claw show.
I mean, yeah, everybody would. It's a lot of tickets if they're both sold out.
True point. Anyway,
Special guest Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Wearing clothes from the 1920s and dancing his way around. Anyway, he'll choreograph the show. Lots of finger snapping.
So you drank many non-Rainier beers at the Rainier's game.
Yes.
And that's why it's your flu game. But
many hours later, this is my flu game.
What we are drinking here is the Stoop Citra IPA, and you questioned whether this is in fact like. So the rules are, again, has to be an IPA, has to be available year-round, which Citra IPA
Can't be hazy.
Hazy IPA is a slightly different beer style, even though it falls within the larger IPA family. So, the Citra IPA is named for the fact that the Citra hop. Here's their explanation. We like to call this one sunshine in a glass, or sunshine in your belly, because it won't stay in that glass long. Our Citra IPA is designed to be light and bright in both color and body. Your first sniff will elicit images of tropical fruit and citrus, thanks to a healthy dose of Citra hops. Enjoy a pint of this, and you might just find yourself gazing skyward, pondering how in the heck sunshine made its way into your glass. Now, unfortunately, your glass will be the only place in the Seattle area that sunshine made it this afternoon.
That's fine. Come on, we're complaining about the weather now.
I know.
It was
You were complaining about it earlier.
It was only no. That was the other reason this was my flu game. Was cloudy in Seattle for 2 days.
It also was sunny much of the day.
After being sunny, I'm now freezing all of the time.
Oh, when we were at Luca's baseball game on Sunday morning and it was like 58 degrees and I'm wearing a hoodie. Like I wasn't like out there in a t-shirt and shorts or anything, and was still just so cold. So cold.
We've become accustomed to the heat.
Been accustomed to a certain lifestyle. I don't know if it is citrusy.
Yeah, they really hyped it a little bit too much. It kind of made me just be like,
I mean, I enjoy this Citra IPA.
The marketing was too citrus or whatever, and I don't know if it's living up to it so far.
All right, well, let's get to this week's toasts. Starting with the Seattle Thunderbirds, who completed a 4-1 win over the Winnipeg Ice in the WHL Finals on Friday night at the ShoWare Center with Taco Time co-host Randy Cote in attendance. Former T-Birds in-arena host, I believe, was his responsibility for the T-Birds. Winning the Ed Chenoweth Cup for the second time in franchise history, the T-Birds advanced to the 4-team Memorial Cup starting May 26th to decide the Canadian Hockey League champions, hosted by the WHL rival Kamloops Blazers.
Ooh, I hate those Blazers.
The fierce rival Kamloops Blazers. Just like your relationship with the state of Oregon, your relationship with Blazers is complex depending on which one.
And Kamloops seems like maybe a lovely place to visit in the summer.
Not as nice as what was the place?
Banff?
No, the place that we were told where they used to have the hydroplanes.
Oh, Kelowna.
Yes, Kelowna. Home of the Rockets, obviously.
Banff is actually supposed to be very, very nice.
I'm sure Banff is
hilariously
nice.
named.
The winners, they'll face, in addition to the host Kamloops Blazers, the winners of the Ontario Hockey League and the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, which I forgot to look up to see whether those series had ended by today.
Now, so it's the Canadian Hockey League Championship.
That's correct.
And the Seattle Thunderbirds, who play in Kent.
That is correct.
Are participating in it. Kent,
because
Washington,
of the fact that
in the
technically the Western Hockey League, which is primarily made up of Canadian teams, is part of the Canadian Hockey League structure, even though they're American. It's like we call it, no one would say that it's a continental league, the NBA or MLB, even though there are teams from Canada in the league.
What you're telling me is not only is Seattle better at being north than Canada, we're also better at winning the Canadian Hockey League championship than Canada is.
This year, as far as the WHL is concerned, yes.
Pathetic, Canada.
All right,
Pathetic.
they will also be taking on those Southern Quebec Ramparts won the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League Championship, and it's the Peterborough Petes, also a Southern team, I'm quite sure, won the Ontario Hockey League.
Wow.
So
We
bring it
own
on.
you, Canada.
Kamloops
Seattle.
can confirm Kamloops is
Farther north.
of Seattle, as it is in British
They're
Columbia.
probably not complaining about being too hot right now.
I don't know. I doubt the weather is that different. It's also pretty inland. I feel like it might be hotter. So, go Thunderbirds. Really an impressive performance by this team. Congrats to Luis Castillo, who recorded his 1,000th career strikeout Monday
Pretty nice weather coming up here,
in the win against the Aces.
actually. It's like
Very
into the
much so.
mid-80s in Kamloops this
Oh,
week.
okay.
Yeah.
Castillo now one of 47 active pitchers to reach the mark. And then lastly, a toast to the thing that did bring us sunshine on a cloudy Sunday afternoon. University of Washington, a 6-run comeback in the top of the 7th to advance to the super regionals of the NCAA softball tournament, avoid losing at home in the regionals for a second consecutive year. This was truly an incredible game where they were shut out. We'll talk more about this later, obviously, during the UW section, but shut out for 6 innings, had been shut out the previous game, and then rallied to score 7 runs in the top of the 7th and win it. And as far as you could tell, they had been leading all along.
Yeah, I did tune in the bottom of the 7th. I was just
Is
like,
that similar to your hockey strategy?
No, I was just playing baseball with the children. And it was like, all right, I'm done doing this. And I turned it on. And I was just like, oh, nice win. 7-6. Great.
Had no idea.
I was
The
tense
darkness we
about
saw.
the bottom of the 7th.
Oh, it was still stressful.
This was one of the greatest wins. This is what I'm saying. People don't believe me about seeing the darkness. People don't understand. You don't
It's not that
remember.
people don't
You don't remember a
understand
comfortable
or
win,
believe you.
12-3 or whatever. This is what you remember. None of this shit matters. All that matters is making memories for doing this, right? I am at the forefront of understanding why things matter.
I like that you're going to be like an endowed professor of understanding why things matter.
Exactly.
And all
This
you're
is
going
a
to do is say
movement.
the darkness.
The darkness. It's all about the dark. It's about the darkness and artificial stakes.
I'm pretty sure economists have just studied it. It's basically the opposite of the endowment effect here is what you're dealing with. I will say there was one point I think during the bottom of the 7th that the commentators on ESPNU mentioned like how fun this game was, and I was like, which part of this was fun? This entire thing was stressful and terrible.
Oh, the comeback was
The
fun
win,
though.
It was fun. I mean, yes, I definitely like pumped my fist and yelled "Let's go" to my empty room when Bailey Klingler scored the tying run on the bases clearing double in that comeback.
It sounds very thrilling. However, it happened.
It was.
I mean,
down
this
to
is-
your final out.
It's maybe the greatest comeback in Women's College World Series history.
So they only apparently have this recorded since 2000. Don't ask me why, but I mean, we only have play-by-play.
You remember when our parents were like, everything you put on the internet lives there forever? Go to GeoCities, motherfucker. Try to find that. They don't have College World Series stats before the year 2000.
Well, for some chance still thinks that.
Exactly.
Really reluctant. to do
Everything
any
you put on the
transaction
internet will never disappear.
The stat was that 6 teams had ever come back from a 6-run deficit at any point in an NCAA tournament softball game since starting in the year 2000. It was something like 6 and 538 when you trailed by that much, and none of those comebacks had occurred as late as the 7th. inning.
Incredible. Angie Mentink explained those exact stats to Aaron Goldsmith on the Mariners broadcast earlier today.
Yeah, I guess I did hear that. Yes,
And Aaron Goldsmith, like, really just was like, okay.
kind of undersold it. I
No,
gotta say.
like, I appreciated Angie Mentink explaining it. And then Aaron Goldsmith's like, okay. He's like, well, this Mariners A's game is important. Artificial stakes. That's what matters. The artificial stakes of a professional baseball game.
we will have Angie Mintink's other softball-related note later in the pod.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. But with that, I think we're moving right ahead to Your favorite segment.
Are we?
Yeah,
This is way too fast.
you would think.
Don't burn yourself. We got Mariners hot takes coming at ya.
I don't have hot takes today. This week.
I asked for Rainier's hot takes.
I don't really. I told you exactly what the Rainiers hot takes would be. Is that it's lovely, great experience. It was a nice day at the
The
ballpark.
Rainier's hot takes were about Rainier beer.
I mean that wasn't great. Matt Festa got the save, got to see an Italian pitching, but I wanted to talk about a field trip that I went on yesterday to a place called Biztown. This was a children's 5th grade field trip, and the thing about Biztown is, do you remember the game that our grandmother had, Anti-Monopoly?
Oh, yes, I do. We will never forget Anti-Monopoly the game.
There, you have to watch videos before being a parent volunteer when going to Biztown, and every single second of the orientation videos that you watch, I was just like, there needs to be an anti-Biztown.
We're going to start that.
Because there was not a mention of a union at one point. They were like, we need to teach kids everything they need to know about business. No, the word union did not come up. The CEO pay, so everybody has different types of pay in Biztown. CEO pay is like $9.33, and worker pay is like $8.45. And I was
I've
like,
got some news.
I was
from
like,
Biztown.
Luca, let me explain if this was in actual terms. The CEO pay would be like $50,000, and the worker pay would be like 1 cent to spend at Biztown if this is a reality.
There's a paper there, the Business
newspaper.
Journal,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed this particular made-up quote. I really didn't want this job. I actually wanted to be. Is about the Fox 13 CEO is the pretend job here. I actually wanted to be cameraman or reporter, but I love my job and it gets me big bucks and I can spend it wherever I want.
There we go. So anyway, there's a Mariners team store in Biztown.
I see that as I flip through the ad section here.
Luca ended up with a beard beanie for free from the fine folks at Biztown.
Nice.
It's a beanie and it has like a beard on it. But it made me think about the Mariners and the offseason. As I was thinking, if there was a real life CEO pay to everybody else pay, if Mariners baseball and the MLB free agency was the Biztown economy, you would have had to explain, as the kids are going out to spend their money, what they say in Biztown in the ads. We're living in a capitalist society here. They're like, you have to spend the money because that makes the economy much better, spending the money. And so I was like, imagine if the CEO thing is real, where the CEOs have all of the money to spend and you have nothing. You have a penny to spend in Biztown. What if in baseball, the Seattle Mariners tell you that you can spend no money in Biztown because all of your money is tied up for the 5th grade class that is going to be hitting Biztown 3 years from now. And the San Diego Padres are out there spending every single dollar in the entire world. And the Boston Red Sox are out there spending every single dollar in Biztown. That is what we were learning from the Mariners and from Biztown.
Okay. So the Mariners are telling you the second it's going to be one
It
of
is
your
a
younger
capitalist
sons.
society to the Mariners whenever they want you to buy their merchandise and whenever they want to promote to children. But the second that they actually have to spend that money, things are a lot more complicated.
Well, one of the players they did spend some money on last offseason via trade. I mean, I suppose they ultimately saved money in that trade because they sent out Jesse Winker, although I forget how much of his salary they swallowed in the deal. But was Colton Wong, who has now been replaced by Jose Caballero, is the primary second baseman after they were previously in a platoon with Caballero playing only against left-handed hitters. Wong did get the start on Tuesday night, but that came after Caballero homered both Sunday and Monday, taking firmer control of that job. Wong's current slugging percentage, a little over 200. It was 204 before his last at-bat. Second lowest among players with at least 100 plate appearances this season. Are you looking at the note here?
Uh-huh.
Ahead of only former Mariner Austin Nola, who is slugging 194 right now. So that's not gun great.
Uh-huh. He actually had a pretty hard hit ball earlier. I was like, whoa, Colton Wong's going to have a double. And he didn't.
It would have been nice. Some unfortunate injury news. Mariners GM Justin Hollander told reporters earlier this week that Easton McGee will likely need Tommy John surgery to repair elbow damage that has affected his recovery from the flexor strain he suffered following that dominant first major league start he had in Toronto for the Mariners. Obviously, the starting rotation has stabilized with Bryce Miller replacing him in the major leagues, but still a huge bummer for Easton McGee that he comes up, has one amazing start, and subsequently is going to be out for more than a year if he does undergo Tommy John surgery, and would be the second Mariners starter this year to have Tommy John surgery
really
after
wild.
no one missed a start last year. Other injury updates. You didn't see him. Apparently he wasn't playing today, but after 3 games in Everett, Dylan Moore, now headed on a rehab assignment with Tacoma, could return at some point during this 10-game homestand for the Mariners. That's where we worry. We'll see if they consider DFAing Colton Wong because he doesn't have the same positional versatility. But with a utility player coming back, you worry for our guy Sam Haggerty.
Are you aware of what happened earlier today in the Mariners game?
That he was stealing second and the ball got thrown into center field and he got around to third?
No. Ty France got hit in his hand. X-rays were negative.
X-rays were negative, yes.
Fortunately, but the backup first baseman on this team might be Sam Haggerty.
He is likely going to start there if France is forced to miss some time.
I'm not nervous for Haggerty in this place, but he offers Dylan Moore offers a lot of value in a lot of different positions as well. But you can have 2 players like that. You can't ever have too many players like that.
But who's good? Do you think they're going to DFA Colton Wong? I think that's the only other reasonable alternative.
I do.
Okay. Well, we'll see if they make that particular decision. It's been a real long way down in a very short period of time for Colton Wong. All right, let's move on to the Sounders, who are continuing to struggle. Lost a pair of games last week. First on Wednesday at home, a 2-1 loss to Austin FC, who opened the scoring in the 36th minute, very much against the run of play. But Sounders couldn't find their way back in and conceded again in the 57th minute to MLS vet Giassi Zardes. Sounders did pull one back in the 79th with a great series of passes, ending up on the foot of Freddie Montero for a strong off-balance finish. Had a couple of good chances, but still suffered their second consecutive 2-1 home loss after a streak of home clean sheets to start the season. Then on Saturday at Vancouver, they lost 2-1, conceding on the edge of halftime when Alex Roldan was unable to defend Pedro Vite one-on-one in the box, allowing Vite's second goal of the season. Gave up in the second goal in the 58th minute on what was scored as a Stephen Fry own goal because the ball was apparently headed just outside the post before being deflected in by Fry's diving save attempt, trying not to take any risks whether that ball was going to go wide or not. And this one, unlike the 2 home losses the Sounders have suffered, not a fluky performance, not unlucky whatsoever. In those cases, the Sounders had the better of expected goals. In this case, they were sloppy, struggled to maintain possession, and perhaps lucky to only allow a pair of goals. Soccer Power Index had Vancouver with 2.6 shot-based expected goals, which is an enormous amount. Despite those 2 losses, Sounders still second on points in the West, but they've dropped to 4th in points per match. They'll get this midweek off before hosting the New York Red Bulls, who are 11th in the East with 16 points from 14 matches. Red Bulls did play in the U.S. Open Cup against Cincinnati earlier Tuesday, so a more crowded schedule for them. Red Bulls have scored just 10 goals, tied for second fewest in MLS, which surely means they'll score 2 against the Sounders at home. Some good news, Christian Roldan returned to partial training as he slowly ramps up activity after his concussion that has sidelined him now for an extended period of time.
So is there any cause for concern here about the Sounders?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
sounds good.
I know if it's panic because their best goal scorer remains out of the lineup.
I wouldn't panic about anything.
Always a good strategy.
Yeah.
Roldan, obviously they're missing him tremendously. And their depth has been kind of limited. They're playing without Obed Vargas in midfield because he's playing with the U.S. U20 team in the U20 World Cup. So, which we should maybe get into the Italy U20 World Cup team.
Okay.
They
let us into that one?
They were shockingly high in like the seeding for the pots in that one.
What do you
the
mean
U.S.
shockingly
in
high?
Italy were shockingly high. Well, they were in it all, first off.
yeah. We're not used to that anymore. But I mean, the record's still very good. They're getting healthier. Is this just a short blip in a long season?
Hopefully, I mean, we are much more used to the Sounders starting slowly and picking up steam in the second half of the season than we are them coming out as hot as they did this year.
I feel like there's been times where it's kind of vice versa, where they started hot and then faded.
Not usually under, like, since Brian Schmetzer replaced Ziggy Schmidt mid-season, that was a year where they started very slowly and came on. They have tended to be a much better second half team.
We're not into the second half yet, though, are we?
No. Not as far away from it as you might think in the MLS schedule, but they're, I believe, 17 matches in now. Maybe 16. Oh, no, yeah, 16 matches. 15 matches in. That was some terrible math for me.
I see the record as 7-3-2, so I'm counting 12.
Well, I definitely am missing a game here.
Okay.
I don't know how many games I've added there. All right, suffice it to say, they're not close to the second half yet.
You're gonna have to delete all that. Anytime you do bad math, you have to delete it. You've got a reputation to uphold.
I don't know what happened there. I have no good explanation for it. I was too distracted by looking up
Jossie Zardes.
FIFA U20 World Cup.
Because we're into that now.
Yeah. Italy ranked second among teams from UEFA in the U20 standings behind France. But U.S. second overall somehow. I don't know how that happened. Notably, Italy just ahead of England. So
Okay. That means great things for the future.
won their first match 3-2 over Brazil.
What?
Yeah. So there you go.
It's happening, the World Cup?
U20 World Cup, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But you think they just snuck by the World Cup? Yeah, Italy beat Brazil in the World Cup, and I just didn't notice.
Yeah, you're well aware. The idea of an Italian team scoring 3 goals in the World Cup is kind of remarkable.
Yeah, this is wild. Do you think as they get to the older ranks, the coaches start coaching the scoring out of the Italian players?
Oh, for sure.
Or is there a new generation of Italians coming up?
For sure they coach it out.
Who scored those 3 goals? Are they names that we would have heard of?
Matteo Prati had the first goal.
Okay. I mean, I
He
know
plays in
those
Serie
names.
C.
Okay.
And Cesare Casade signed the other one. He plays in the championship on loan from Chelsea.
Okay.
So presumably quite a promising player, one would think. One of the most promising Italian talents of his generation. According to Wikipedia, which
There we go.
is very reliable.
Well, I now love him. I still don't know his name is what?
Cesare Casade.
Cesare?
Cesare.
We have not had a good Cesare in a while, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, this is important. This is huge. I
no,
might even name a child after him.
As you continue having your 10 to 15 children.
Well, it turns out I love that soccer player I just heard of. A lot more than any Sounders.
Good to know.
Could care less about any of these Sounders. But it's
too few Italians on the Sounders.
I mean, we've noticed that they're slumping right now because of that. Have they ever had an Italian?
I can't really think of any off the top of my head. Yeah.
That's why they've only won 2 MLS Cups.
Would have won like 7 or 8.
It would have been a lot more. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks of downplay, something like that.
Yes.
Really, one victory. If they beat Cincinnati or Red Bulls, sorry, if they beat Red Bulls, it's kind of dust in the wind.
Yes. At this point in the season, most important thing is to get healthy. OL Reign.
Or to see the darkness.
Okay, well, we're seeing a little darkness in the season this year. I don't know if the darkness in the season is as important as within an individual game. The OL Reign saw some
The
darkness on
darkness
Sunday.
within the season is all that matters. Literally, the 1995 season, most important season in Mariners history. If they'd been just comfortably if they'd won the division comfortably the entire time, they'd won the first round game. Like if you take out the 1 game play-in, if they'd won the first series against the Yankees just comfortably or whatever.
Darkness within the 95 ALDS is a different thing than the darkness within the regular season.
But it
You're
was
not like,
all
hey, it
part of
would have
it.
been way better if the 2013 Seahawks had started like 0-4 and then won 12 in a row.
I mean, it probably would have. No, I don't know.
They had their darkness.
Did they really?
The NFC Championship game. You don't remember that game?
You're talking about the one against Green Bay?
No, the Seahawks Niners game.
There was not that much darkness.
Colin
There
Kaepernick
was tension. There was tension.
I mean, they were behind for 3 quarters in that game, weren't they?
All right. I'll accept it.
And when Colin Kaepernick was marching the ball down the field, I saw some darkness.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know what you saw.
We saw the darkness there.
Is everyone who's gone through and listened to all the individual Peltoncasts, including the special episodes, would know. You were a little more. You were having a flu game that night as well.
Yeah, flu game.
You had been at the Raiders game earlier, apparently.
Recorded in the back of my Lumina.
Good
Rest in
times.
peace.
I mean, we're coming up on the 10th anniversary of the first Peltoncast. It's going to be this fall.
Wow.
And you don't want to do a live show in celebration of it. Think about that.
Oh, Lord.
Although technically, we didn't record until after week 1 of the Seahawks season.
That's true.
I believe that year.
And technically, we took like 2 years off.
That doesn't matter. It's still the 10th anniversary.
Okay.
Well, already,
I like those years when we weren't talking to each other.
The lost Peltoncast years. OL Reign saw some darkness on Sunday as they suffered their worst loss of the season in front of a great crowd of 8,000 plus at Lumen Field, giving up a season-high 4 goals to Gotham FC. Gotham struck twice in the first 12 minutes, added a third before halftime, and made it 4-0 in the 73rd minute before the Reign added a late Jordan Heinemann goal to produce the 4-1 final. With that, the loss dropped the Reign all the way down to 5th in the NWSL standings. This weekend, they'll host Angel City FC, a team the Reign have dominated during their 2 years of existence. Not as heated a rival as the San Diego Wave, but Angel City tied for 9th in the standings despite a strong rookie season from number 1 pick Alyssa Thompson, who has 3 goals already at age 18 after foregoing her senior season of high school to play in the NWSL.
Wow.
Too busy even to play in the U20 World Cup.
That's awesome.
I don't know when the schedule is for that.
Are we going to talk about these beers at any point?
All right, well,
We've got some darkness coming up here, so we might as well drink these beers. Got a lot of darkness coming up.
Oh boy!
Sometimes the darkness is good for resetting an organization. I feel like this beer might have been up there. It was pretty good, actually.
It's very solid. Yeah.
It's really hard to judge beers.
Yeah.
What do we have next on the docket?
We have the Rubens Crikey IPA,
There we go.
which is the first ever American IPA Rubens brewed. This is still our most popular beer, they say. Crikey has a hop profile led by notes of citrus, pine, and tropical fruit with a malt backbone, providing balance to every sip. The malts are caramel, Munich, pale, and wheat. The hops, Citra, Amarillo, Simcoe, Centennial, Mosaic, and Azaka.
I heard the term this weekend for, the term sommelier,
Yeah.
that there's a term for a person who's a sommelier of beer.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this?
I'm not familiar with this term.
It was somehow the most pretentious thing I'd ever heard in my entire life.
Wait, was this during your conversation on Friday night?
No, this was on Saturday, actually. It's Wikipedia just says beer sommelier. Cicerone.
Cicerone.
Yeah, also known as a cicerone in the United States.
Huh.
And
How is it spelled? Is it like Italian?
Cicerone.
Is that an Italian term, potentially?
It's based upon Cicero.
Okay.
And I could just feel the beard on somebody's neck when I hear it.
We both have beards.
Not deep on the neck,
It's true. We do not have neck beards.
right? You could just feel that they wanted to write a novel at some point when you read that. For some reason, I'm okay with the term sommelier.
They definitely have a podcast. The call is coming from within the house.
I also wanted to mention, not a close relationship, but there's some terrible and hopefully uplifting news of Alex Kidd from the Don't Drink Beer social media page and podcast. He ended up being diagnosed with cancer unexpectedly. Has a very, very successful GoFundMe that's happening, but I ended up working with them on their podcast booking for a couple of years and was really shocked to see that news. So hope that he's doing well and recovering.
Certainly best wishes.
Anyway, I saw this term, Cicerone. I heard this term and I was just like,
This is a bridge too far.
this is a bridge too far. I was like, can we just drink the beer? Like, just stop. Because you were saying all those notes, and I was like, I love that they're just like going for every direction. It's piney and it's fruity and it's everything. And I was just like, I am sure that that's the case.
I mean, there are a lot of websites, brewery websites that have like beer pairings for what food it should go for, which is kind of the sommelier aspect of it to a degree, right? I don't know that that concept is completely foreign within the beer world.
I think those are also hilarious, though.
They usually are hilarious, like objectively hilarious, like how specific the things are
Yes.
to drink it with. Yes, pairs well with. We will be sure to note those if we get those. in future episodes.
What to pair well with. You're just like, so a cheeseburger?
Pizza?
Yeah, what are
Chicken?
you trying to tell me here? Taco time?
Oh, we've done wine pairings. We've never done beer pairings for taco time. We need to find a Cicerone.
A Cicerone for taco time. I did hear about a person who is a Cicerone, and I like already the person I was just like, I'm not sure about this person. And then I heard that they were being described as that they told somebody that they were a Cicerone, and I was like, I bet they did. The number one quality of a Cicerone is telling people that they're a Cicerone.
Oh, professional or just like amateur? Recreational?
Amateur.
Okay.
They're an amateur, but I think they've been diagnosed by whoever makes things.
Diagnosed?
Diagnosed. That's probably the wrong word right now.
Definitely the wrong
They've been
word.
anointed or by whomever makes people Cicerones.
Uh-huh. I was trying to think, because you have to like pass a test to become a sommelier, correct?
I assume that there's a similar thing for beer.
Sector Ball has so many notes. I can hear the email that he's crafting right now in response to this.
I don't think being a sommelier is pretentious. I think that is a totally reasonable thing to do, right? Or to be.
I don't think it's because we're critical of sommeliers. I think it's our ignorance of the concept.
But I am critical of Cicerones.
Hopefully none of the listener is Cicerone. All right, well, the darkness...
I would love to hear a refutation.
Yeah, please come on the pod if so. As I said earlier, we're still looking for a Jordan McKay of IPAs. Well, the darkness you were referring to, the Seattle Storm season opener, the largest loss in franchise history to the Las Vegas Aces on Saturday by 41 points, also the largest margin of victory ever in an opening game in the WNBA. Jewel Lloyd started this one 0 of 8. She did rebound to finish with 22 points, but was the only Storm player to score more than 8. Noelle Quinn used just about everybody on her roster, with only rookie second-round pick Dulcie and Mengiadu not seeing action before garbage time. But could not find the right combination to score or slow down the Aces, who built a 15
It's like the biggest understatement of all time. Couldn't find the right combination to score.
Be gentle.
In a 40-point loss.
I mean, it wasn't really quite as bad as the final
You
one.
said that, but there was like a rerun of it that came on.
Okay, you
or whatever,
saw it?
and they were down 30 with like 8 minutes left.
Yeah,
or
it
something.
wasn't good.
I was like, oh, wow. You made it seem like it was like 12, and then it out of nowhere became 40.
I mean, it doesn't become 40 that way, but it was... They were down 15 at halftime. They were down 26 after three quarters, but it was 20. It was also 26 with 5:59 left to play. Then Las Vegas finished on a 20-5 run over the final 4:01. The Storm had the end of the bench in there. Kelsey Plover was still in there for the Aces.
What the hell?
So part of the explanation for this is these
They
games,
wanted to really rub it in.
I don't know that there wasn't. I definitely wasn't.
But they won last year. They wanted to what?
Well, so Becky Hammond last week, I think, was this after we recorded the pod? I can't remember if this had happened before we had recorded or not. Was suspended by the WNBA for the first 2 games of the season for violating the league and team respect in the workplace policies in regards to her comments to Dearica Hamby about her pregnancy. So I think that suspension was a motivating factor for the Aces, but also...
What?
It was the WNBA. It's the part of the WNBA Commissioner's Cup, and one of the tiebreakers there is your point differential. So it actually matters that you kind of got to keep your foot on the gas a little bit for those games. So
Just everything the WNBA does is wrong. I'm just like the amount of things that the WNBA has had it fucking teed up for them to be a successful league, and they are really struggling with it.
I don't know that that's the case.
But the idea that they're like, yeah, we want more 40-point blowouts. Like, that's not good for anybody. But I love to imagine the people making the schedule, right? Going into the year being like, conference, I'm going to even say this right, not even say Western Conference. They're going to say it's a conference semifinal rematch. They're like, wow, what a great game, and not know anything else that happened.
Like,
and then just show up
man.
and be like, what is going What happened?
I mean,
We thought this was going to be a huge game.
I did hear that there were a lot of comments on like when the Storm announced their roster to open the season. People were like, "Where's Super and Brianna Stewart?"
By who?
Like people commenting on social media. Who have
Maybe they didn't have it as teed up as I thought they did. Social media still hasn't learned.
apparently they haven't gotten the word that Super had retired and Brianna Stewart signed with the Liberty.
It's like when you worked with the Pacers and they'd just heard about Firefox.
I don't remember that one.
Everybody there was like, so I'd pull up Internet Explorer and then wait 10 minutes. This was like 2008 or something. They were like, so you can access the internet faster than that? Anyway, that's the general public with the Storm roster.
It's not everyone is paying as close attention to the WNBA offseason as we are here on the Peltoncast.
I guess so. This is like pretty big news. I think I got a push notification.
I wrote a whole story about Sue Bird's retirement. It was pretty prominent on ESPN.com.
Sue Bird was one of the literally a whole year of Sue Bird retiring.
I'm well aware.
They chanted in New York. All of this was happening very publicly.
So the Storm will get nearly a week off before hosting the Dallas Wings on Friday in a matchup that should be easier than Las Vegas, who looked very much in championship form with the additions of Candace Parker and our old friend Alicia Clark. Next Tuesday, however, I think we will pod before this because of this game happening on Tuesday. The New York Liberty and Brianna Stewart come to town.
Oh, God.
2 of the first 3 games they scheduled against the Aces at Liberty.
What did the Storm do to deserve this? Just being like the signature franchise of the WNBA for 20 years wasn't enough. 2 decades of excellence. In fact, I should be cheering for this because I will say that the Storm wronged me personally. But
not this.
even then, it's a new ownership group, right?
Well, no, it's not a different ownership group from when you were there.
It's a new executive group.
Sure.
Nobody from the current ownership group personally wronged me, right?
That is correct.
So I'm going to stand on the side of the Storm here.
So
They should save those ratings for later in the year.
the Liberty.
The Stewie returning to see.
I was kind of shocked when I somehow knew the schedule, but I hadn't really processed it.
You're one of the
pretty
people
recently that the Liberty were coming to town.
The
this
schedule had
early.
been out for a long time, but you just realized, or
I just really
you just realized Sue Bird retired.
Yeah, I did. She walked into practice the other day at the end, and I was like, "Shouldn't you be out there?" Naturally, Percy Allen asked, "Like, you sure you want to stay retired?" And she was like,
Yeah.
could not be any more."
What fucking cognitive perspective would you have to have when Brianna Stewart left and the team got their ass kicked by 40 points to be like,
Well, this was prior to that game.
Sue Bird should come back. Sue Bird is happily enjoying retirement.
I think very happily.
After that game,
she did sit through this game.
Yeah, but deep down, we all know what's up. We all know who we are deep on the inside. There was a part of her that was like,
Where it's like, yes, you want to leave everything in a good place, but you also kind of want to make sure that people know how important you are.
She was like, yeah, I had a whole year of retirement parties, but I guarantee you there's something that the Storm did that wronged Sue Bird in some way along the way, and she thought about it.
I don't think so.
I've been there.
She was courtside, getting
I
the largest
understand.
ovation of the day.
At the Vera Project, something doesn't go right, and I'm like, 10 years later. I'm like, okay.
Again, you left of your own volition.
The Storm, something doesn't happen right with the Storm. Brianna Stewart leaves, and I'm like, if you had a different receptionist, maybe. Things might have gone differently, I guess.
Definitely still be there.
We'd have Sloot and Stewie, but, that was me.
So Storm restricted free agent Gabby Williams is eligible to play in the WNBA this season, as we've been following, because she had her contract suspended by her French club Asvel before the prioritization deadline. That happened because of the fact that she's still dealing with the after effects of the second concussion in the last 9 months she's suffered. Also, Gabby Williams may play for the French national team in Eurobasket next month. As a result, her agent Lizzie Kagawa-Colas told ESPN's Emma Volpel over the weekend that she has not yet made a decision on whether to play in the WNBA this year. So we'll see whether we see her with the Storm. If not, they would maintain her rights as a restricted free agent into next offseason.
That was a little convoluted.
Well, she can play in the league this year, but she might not.
But what is the contract? Why was the contract suspended? Was it suspended because of the injury? Or was that to allow her to play in the WNBA?
Both. But, like, if she had just been playing normally, I don't think she would have had her contract suspended. In all likelihood, she would have just played in the rest of the games as her team won the championship.
And the WNBA would have not let her come back.
Correct, because then she would have been playing past the start of the WNBA regular season. So
Ultimately, it's all punitive, though. Like, everybody did what the WNBA wanted them to do.
Yeah.
So, good for them. I guess slow clap.
We'll see next year when the deadline is not the start of the regular season, but May 1st is when players need to complete their overseas duty. And if you're under contract, the other reason that this could happen is because she was a free agent, she just had to be done with her contract. If you're under contract to a WNBA team, you had to be in your team's market by the start of the regular season.
How are they? Are there trackers on these players?
I don't think
In your
it's
team's
that,
market?
That's serious.
She's in Sammamish? Like, is that okay?
Sammamish would be fine. Yes,
Is
that
Vancouver, BC okay? How big is the market
I don't know. I don't know whether Vancouver, BC
in the
qualifies as
market?
Storm territory. Although
God,
Kia
it's like
Nurse-
Taco Time Northwest. There's strict boundaries.
Canadian native Kia Nurse trying to get the Storm to become Canada's team, get those fans come down here from British Columbia, but maybe not this season.
No relation to Nick Nurse, right?
No, she is definitely not in a relation to Nick Nurse.
Okay.
Her brother plays for the Edmonton Oilers, Darnell Nurse.
Oh.
And
I'm guessing she's black, and that's why you said there's definitely no relation to Nick
that
Nurse.
is, yes.
Put that together. Who do the Storm play next?
Dallas.
Dallas.
That was in the rundown.
Okay. You said that.
You were too busy making super jokes. All right.
You don't want to vote me for MVP. Katie got more votes. Okay. Are they going to be the worst team in the WNBA this year?
The Indiana Fever are also a strong contender for that. Also, we're on the wrong end of Brianna Stewart's 45-point game, career high 45 points in 30 minutes on Sunday in her second game for the Liberty.
How desperate? Iowa, Indiana, pretty close states, right?
Yes.
How desperately do the Fever want Caitlin Clark?
I'm sure quite desperately. Whether Caitlin Clark is as desperate to go play for the Indiana Fever is a different question.
Irrelevant, right?
No, it's not, because she can decide to go back for another year.
Oh, so the WNBA lottery is going to happen before she has to make the decision.
Usually it's the start of the college regular season, like, early November.
So she'll know basically what team she's going to play for.
She will know. Yeah.
And so is there any intel on that? Or you just feel like going to play basketball in Indiana is not exciting to her?
She has said that it's 50-50 whether she comes back for her fifth year.
But based upon what? What about the Fever? If the Storm get the number one pick in the draft, is Caitlin Clark coming out?
I think that there's a much better chance of that.
Why?
The Storm, you just mentioned it. The Storm have been a marquee franchise in the WNBA for 2 decades. They're building their own practice facility. The Fever are one of the lowest spending teams in the league historically.
Okay.
Do not have as strong, passionate a fan base as a result of that as the Storm do in Seattle.
I do feel like there's a gravitational pull to professional sports, to getting in and starting the thing.
I mean, that's one of the things is a lot of people. First off, there's like this misleading idea. We're spending a long time on the Storm for a team that lost their opener.
It's the only thing we have to
41
talk
points.
about. This is the only interesting thing we have to talk about.
You'd have softball.
Okay, sure, but like it's
You'd
kind of
have baseball.
all right.
So there's this like
I very much enjoy talking at the Storm for some reason.
There's
I
this-
feel like it's all very conceptual. I think that's why I like talking at the Storm, because everything, it's so non-matter of fact. You know what I mean? A lot of like baseball, it's just like this happened. And you're like, yeah, okay. There's no like sociological aspects to what we're talking about when Ty France got hit in the wrist or something. But the Storm is just like it's all cultural.
I suppose that's reasonable. I think there are some sociological aspects to Ty France getting hit in the wrist, but we don't need to go into those today. Wait, what was the question again? I forget where we were. What did you ask me?
Oh wait, I had remembered it, but
What a great podcast. Thank God you can listen to one of these for every day of the year.
We were talking about Caitlin Clark playing for the Fever, and to me, I was saying there's a gravitational pull
Oh,
for the WNBA.
yes. So there's this kind of dumb narrative out there on social media now that basically players are taking a pay cut to go to the WNBA because their NIL earnings are more than their WNBA salary, which is true on some surface level. That Caitlin Clark is almost undoubtedly making more in NIL than she would make in salary in the WNBA next year. But the thing about NIL is most of it is just sponsorship deals, and those continue over into when you're a pro. It's not like all of a sudden the shoe companies are going to be like, whoa, Caitlin Clark, you're a professional. We have no interest in you now. Like if you're a marginal WNBA player who happens to be in a market where women's college basketball is really important and your NIL appeal is based largely on that market, then yes, you might make more in
Drew Timme.
The Drew Timme, yes.
Yeah.
But Caitlin Clark is still going to make a lot more in the WNBA, all things considered.
Caitlin
and
Clark's
the other
not,
aspect
not
of it,
fringe second round draft pick is going to obviously be on the Celtics type player.
yes.
You know,
I don't think the Celtics have Luke Cornett. The other element of it is, and this is more true in the NBA than the W, just given the scale of it, but the sooner you get into the league, the sooner you get out of your rookie contract and can make the max. So, like Sabrina Ionescu just agreed to her extension, which is a substantial pay raise.
I
off what
also
she's
think the
making.
money in the WNBA is about to skyrocket. I think we are so close to seeing
The
money.
new TV deal is 2026. New CBA is a year or two behind that, and then it will
It's just going to be like
scale.
it is the amount that I'm seeing about the WNBA, like on Twitter in general, that I'm aware of what's going on. It's just way higher than it was a decade ago. You know, culturally, it's a way more important sport than it was.
Without question.
And there's superstars now. I don't know if I think the like WNBA superstars of the past were as important as they are now.
Not culturally, I don't think, no.
And the honestly, like a lot of those players, like Lisa Leslie played her entire career for the Sparks. Diana Taurasi played her entire career for the Mercury.
So far.
So far, still playing. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Still getting technicals.
The Breanna Stewart moving to New York, as bad as it was for the Storm, was the best thing that could have ever happened to the league.
It certainly is going to, New York had been a down franchise for a period of time. Despite being one of the original franchises in the largest media market in the league, have never won the championship.
I'm not even talking about that, though. It's about the transactions.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's the cultural impact.
Being able to have a conversation about it, right? People are talking about where James Harden's going to end up next year. I watched James Harden play basketball. I could care less about watching James Harden play basketball. It's not
But
that
you
fun.
love speculating about
But
whether he goes back to the
I
Rockets.
want to hear other people talk about where James Harden is going to play basketball. And that's exactly that's what's happening with the WNBA. But the thing about Caitlin Clark is, I feel like what's going to happen, and this is true for the Indiana Fever, whether she knows it or not, she just doesn't have to declare until after the season. There is no way that the next season can be as exciting for Caitlin Clark as this last one. There's something about, it's not a sophomore slump necessarily. It's like the amount that people were talking about Caitlin Clark, her being invited to the fucking White House, even though they lost, like that shit is not going to happen year over year. And even if she is amazing, there's still a really long college basketball season that ultimately no one cares about. So she right now is riding really high. And the long tail of the like women's college basketball season that's going to happen, and she's going to be in Iowa, is going to be not brutal, but it's going to take its toll on her, and she's going to be like, I could be playing professional basketball right now, not sitting in fucking Iowa at a college.
I mean, I think, look, pursuing a championship would be a big draw if she doesn't win it next year. And Iowa at this point has not been able to replace their post player, Monica Sonano, who did not stick in the league, was that kind of third round pick who didn't make
what
it.
seed were they?
There were 2.
Okay. But like the chances of them winning the NCAA tournament are very low, and having another exciting run,
Especially
that shit doesn't happen back to back.
LSU is definitely the aces of the Liberty of the
They're
NCAA.
just aren't they getting transfers like crazy?
They added Haley Van Lith, notably.
Yeah, they're retooling.
I believe did they end up also getting an Indy Samoro, from DePaul. So
Like you're like asking that like you're asking me. I'd actually heard about one of the transfers.
Well, Haley Van Lith, the Kashmir native, is quite famous on social
Kashmir,
media.
Washington?
Yeah.
Whoa!
Hey, did you miss this whole storyline? She played here against Caitlin in the regional final.
Still.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I resisted the urge to ask her any questions in media availability about either applets.
Yeah,
or
I was gonna
cotlets.
say, how many applets and cotlets questions did you have?
I should have done that in the locker room at some point. It would have been. I don't know. I don't know how it would have gone over.
But you understand what I'm saying? That
Yes.
she's kind of reached the peak of her fame in college. And in the WNBA, the exposure is significantly higher.
All right. Well, let's talk about UW sports. Let's start with baseball.
Hello.
The Huskies were unable to extend their winning streak beyond the opening game of their season-ending 3-game series against Cal at home. That 12-1 blowout was their 7th win in a row, but UW dropped the final 2 games of the series, 12-7, 16-11.
Wow.
Very high scoring. Wind was blowing out at Husky Ballpark. The good news is UW still finished 3rd in the Pac-12 at 17-12, heading into the Pac-12 baseball tournament this week in Scottsdale. Under a new format, the top 9 teams will advance for pool play with 3 brackets of 3 teams each. The winners of all of those and the top runner-up will advance to the semifinals. The Huskies are the highest seed in a pool with number 4 USC and
This is
number
in
7
the Pac-12. Number 4 in the
UCLA.
Pac-12.
Correct.
Okay.
They'll face the Bruins Wednesday at 2:30 p.m., Trojans at the same time on Thursday, with the semifinals on Friday and the championship game on Saturday night. And a lot riding on this for the Huskies. Currently among the first 4 out
What?
in the College Sports Madness projection.
3rd in the Pac-12 is not good enough to be in.
I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because they played pretty well in non-conference play, but maybe they didn't play the same schedule or have the same success of some of the other Pac-12 teams that are in there despite having worse conference records.
There's other Pac-12 teams who are behind them.
Well, like Oregon was in there.
Still in after we swept them.
Oregon was in there. I don't know if they still are.
I'm also a little skeptical about the bracketology that's happening here.
I don't know. Maybe they aren't. Wait, okay. Hold on. Oh, was I looking at an old one somehow? Oh, I was looking at an old one. UW is it?
There we go.
Oh, wow. I'm looking at this. I'm like, where are they?
I trust blindly
In College Sports Madness.
the college sports madness projections.
They are projected currently in the Fayetteville Regional with Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Loyola Marymount.
Oh boy, do
Not
not want
that-
to play Oklahoma. What seed are they?
That's base. Arkansas was the 3. They don't have only the. It's like softball. Only the 16 teams are seeded.
Okay.
But they would.
I don't really understand how the softball. You just tell me whatever. You're just like they moved to this thing, and I'm like, wow, great.
They do.
You're the only person who can understand these complicated brackets.
It's like how I have to read the instructions anytime we play a board game and explain them to the entire group.
It's funny because if there's a board game that I'm playing with other people, like
You're that
I'm not necessarily reading the instructions, but like yeah, kind of. But I'll also like understand how to play any
Dallas
game very quickly.
Baptist is a projected 16 seed. I didn't even know the Dallas Baptist was a Division I school.
It doesn't surprise me, given the sport. Just being honest. So if they finish first in pool play, then get eliminated after, we think they're probably in.
Now that we know that they have been projected in the bracket right now,
Now
by
that they're
College
in,
Sports
we're feeling
Madness.
confident.
Yeah, we're feeling dramatically better. Yeah, no, I think if they advance to the semifinals, they should be in good shape because all of the teams that would reach the semifinals would be likely to make it. USC is also projected in the tournament right now as well.
Okay.
So it wouldn't even be a terrible thing if they lost to USC and finished second in this group. I think it would be losing to USC. If you went 0-2, then you'd put yourself in big jeopardy. So we will continue to monitor
How
that.
do they do the seeding? Is it based upon run differential? It's a 3-team pool, and every team could beat every other team.
That is a great question. The answer is the tiebreaker then is your finish in the regular season standing.
Oh,
So
that is good.
That
Yes.
is good for the Huskies.
That is a really good way to decide that.
You're going to suggest that to the WNBA for the Commissioner's Cup?
I know. Commissioner's Cup. I'm going to suggest they not have a Commissioner's Cup.
Oh, I've got bad news for you.
What?
There's more Commissioner's Cups coming to the NBA as well, not less
Why?
cups.
Is this a little tournament?
Yeah.
Or is it is it a separate tournament?
So is in the WNBA, the teams will qualify based on regular season results against teams in their division, home and away. The difference is, whereas the WNBA only plays a single additional game in the Commissioner's Cup final, the NBA, they will be an 8-team tournament among the 6 division winners and the top 2 wild cards.
I'm more okay with that. But
There
I
is
I
actually
do
some tournament format to it.
want to have some real talk with the powers that be. I understand the profits. I get it. I really do.
We've already talked about capitalism on this pod.
I know. I really understand the need for more profit. Look, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. You just need more. You always have to have more. You have to feed your TV partners.
I mean, the good news is in this industry, the players are guaranteed a percentage of the revenue.
No one cares.
We'll see.
I can tell you that no one cares in the WNBA.
People care about the Commissioner's Cup final.
No, they don't.
They-
I'm so sorry. No one
Wow,
cares.
I will always treasure the Commissioner's Cup. You know, people were talking about, with Brianna Stewart coming back, the 2 championships the Storm won with Brianna Stewart. People aren't talking about the Commissioner's Cup.
So I'm not going to suggest anything in the WNBA for how they do that. But for the Pac-12, with seeding into the semifinals of pool play of the Pac-12 baseball tournament, which I just learned was a thing,
Yeah.
and now feel very strongly about, because UW is 3 and USC is number 4. That is a great way to do the seeding. So they have kind of a couple different ways to get there, which is they can either win 2 games,
Correct.
or they can win 1 game and have everybody else win 1 game and then get there by default.
The 2 sweetest words in the English language. I think that's the second consecutive pod I've made that joke. All right. UW softball. Let's talk a little bit about how they got there to that thrilling finish against McNeese on Sunday. On Friday, the Huskies run-ruled Northern Colorado 10-2 after 6 innings. Bailey Klingler had a homer and a double, driving in 3 runs, and Lindsay Lopez went the distance with 8 strikeouts. Then Saturday against McNeese, which we correctly diagnosed, they were the real power.
We knew it was
Minnesota, they beat 3 times, or 2 times, I think 2 times.
we correctly diagnosed.
A lot of diagnosing on this part. Saturday, the Huskies rolled out Ruby Malin, who held the Cowboys scoreless through 6 innings before settling for a 1-run outing as UW won 3-1, with Jalen Olchin powering the offense with a 3-for-3 game, including a solo home run to open the scoring. Later Saturday, McNeese outlasted Minnesota 1-0 to advance to Sunday's final, where the format in college softball, it's a double elimination. So McNeese, by having already lost, they need to win twice. UW only needs to win once. In the first game, the Cowboys repeated that 1-0 scoreline
Wild.
in a must-win game, with Whitney Tate scattering 8 hits and getting Bailey Klingler out with the bases loaded to finish the game. Solo homer by Karine Poncho gave Tate all the run support necessary to force that winner-take-all game a half hour later. This time, the Huskies again put Malin on the mound, and McNeese had far more success against her, hitting her hard. It took the Huskies she gave up 4 runs. It took the Huskies until the 7th inning to get to Cowboys starter Ashley Vallejo, by which point they'd gone 13 innings scoreless on Sunday before the floodgates opened in a late drizzle. UW had 6 hits, scored 7 runs in the 7th inning with a bases-clearing Sammy Reynolds double tying the game, and Madison Husky doubling Reynolds home to take the lead, which Brooke Nelson made hold up in the bottom half of the inning, getting the win. It was, as we mentioned, the largest 7th inning comeback in the NCAA tournament since at least 2000. So meanwhile, the Huskies managed to narrowly avoid the McNeese upset, but upsets were hitting their part of the eventual College World Series bracket hard. Number 2 UCLA lost their first 2 games and went home on Saturday,
Bye, UCLA.
losing to San Diego State, the real Pac-12 team.
Exactly.
In that bracket.
They realized that the Pac-12 is a softball school, and they're gone.
Number 10
Conference.
LSU also eliminated at home in the regionals. Louisiana knocked off LSU, and the Raging Cajuns are headed to Seattle for a best-of-3 super regionals this weekend. It's really a lot of Louisiana representation for the Huskies.
That is
in this
wild.
bracket.
You heard that Sean Langoliers from the A's.
It's
his
in
sister-
here.
Okay.
It's in here. It is the 8th super regional appearance for Louisiana, their last coming in 2016. I got to
This
say
is
that was a lot more
formerly
than I expected.
Louisiana Lafayette.
Correct.
Okay.
You may recall them as Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah.
But now they just go by
If you're old
Louisiana.
school, they're Louisiana Lafayette.
Back when they played in the NCAA tournament in late 2000s, the men's basketball tournament, I think, Seattle Times reporter Jada Evans' dad was coaching the team. Jesse Evans.
I know them as if you're playing NCAA football and you want to have a really easy schedule, you just schedule Louisiana Lafayette on there.
So that's the SEC model.
Yeah. Maybe like 3 or 4 times. No, the SEC model is what do they call it? Just Division 3 East or whatever.
Yes. I had a joke workshopping about how the Mariners should adopt that model and just play the A's, schedule the A's more times. So their Sunday sweep of LSU brought Louisiana to 8-12 this season against Power 5 competition. Also notably, they beat McNeese all 3 times they played head-to-head, once at home, once on the road, and once at a neutral site.
Okay, that's a true sweep.
a troubling sign given how McNeese dealt with the Huskies. They slugged for a combined 16 runs in their 2 wins over LSU Sunday, have 3 hitters with double-digit home runs, including Alexa Langoliers, sister of A's catcher Shay.
Hopefully he did not teach her about how to win. I find it hard to be nervous about this.
You gotta have appropriate fear.
Appropriate fear is fine. But this is ultimately a good situation for the Huskies.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all things considered. Like, I just gave you the record against Power 5 competition. You know who was better against Power 5 competition?
Who?
LSU.
Yeah.
So, also UW. Also a team that was better against Power 5 competition.
And so they would have either played LSU or UCLA?
So UCLA is the team that if you win this weekend and reach the College World Series,
That's who they would have played.
UCLA would have been your opponent in the first game of the College World Series. Now, the team that now is hosting the Super Regionals is favored to get that spot. Unfortunately, is UW nemesis Utah.
Oh, fuck Utah.
Utah took 2 of 3
They're
in
going to have
Seattle
such a
during the
good time in
regular
the Big
season.
12. It's great. You know,
I don't know what that has to do with anything.
it'll be really nice for them to be in the Big 12. I appreciate it. We brought them up. You know, they weren't born hustlers. We were birthing them. But like
I think they were doing some hustling in the Mountain West. I don't know if you recall when they had a coach named Urban Meyer.
for a time.
Yeah, I mean, it was not like they were unsuccessful under Kyle Whittingham in the Mountain West.
They used it to leverage it into an offer to the Pac-12, and then it's going to be great when they're in the Big 12. But softball-wise,
Again, just a lot of appropriate fear, but I'd still rather play Utah than UCLA if you get to
Yes.
the College World Series.
that's what I'm talking about.
And I'd still rather play Louisiana than LSU.
Okay.
So
When are these games?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
The Huskies need to win 2 out of 3.
Correct.
They're all against Louisiana.
Yes. In unlike the regionals where you have the 4 teams in the double elimination format, it is still a double elimination format, but it's just 2 teams.
And these are in Seattle.
Yes.
It was very strange seeing.
Which it's been a while since they hosted a super regional. I'm not sure what the last time was that they have.
Oh, UW was the road team in the game on the second game against McNeese on Sunday.
Yeah, just for like bookkeeping, they split who's the home and road team. They that comeback came in the top of the 7th, not the bottom of the 7th. But they still have all their fans there.
I mean, I will say that for the darkness purposes, being able to walk it off is slightly more fun.
It would have been more fun. I agree. But I'd have to look up when the last time was they hosted a super regional, because last year, obviously, I think they would have been on the road, but then lost in the regionals and didn't make the super regionals, ending their streak. The year before that, I'm pretty sure they were on the road. 2020 didn't happen. 2019, I feel like also they got screwed, and that was the year they were at Oklahoma in the
They would have
super
been hosting
regionals.
this anyway, though, whether LSU was knocked off or not.
Correct.
So no matter what, they were hosting
Yes,
this.
top 8 seeds host the super regionals if they
But then the
advance,
next round against UCLA.
which is in the College World Series.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is Oklahoma still alive?
Oh,
Are they number one?
oh yeah.
So stupid.
They're like
we're
they're like a run rolling teams in the finals of the regionals.
It's like, you know, when you could see the thing down the road, like a ways. The complaints about where they play the College World Series, they're coming. So just wait on those.
It's the Gonzaga theory, right? That like by having the easy schedule, they got to fatten up to the point where they actually are good enough now to legit
I mean,
compete.
yes, but also they host it every year. It's like Gonzaga on fucking steroids. It's like Gonzaga if they actually won something.
Oklahoma's scoreline this weekend, they beat Hofstra 11-0. They beat Missouri 11-0, and then they beat Cal 16-3.
So typically when the women's college world series starts, Oklahoma does not leave Norman.
They don't leave. I mean, the Women's College World Series is played in Oklahoma City, so they are leaving Norman, but they play their entire schedule within about a 35-mile radius, or so, give or take. So, yeah.
It is wild. Nobody ever was just like, maybe we should move this around. Every other sport moves around their championship, right?
I don't know if the men's college World Series moves around either. I think that's typically in Creighton or in Omaha, I should say. So, but yes, they do not move it around now.
All right. Well, Creighton's asleep at the wheel.
The Gonzaga of the Plains.
I also love that they're like, let's host these two events in the early summer in the two places that people want to go the least in the world.
Just also,
What
like,
about it? Vegas was right there.
So many thunderstorm delays.
Yeah, if you want to play a game in a fucking desert, Las Vegas is always there and willing, right? They would have been the softball town.
Wow.
They could have been the softball town for a long time. Now all of a sudden Vegas has the NFL and the MLB and pretty soon the NBA.
Not yet the MLB.
Is there a holdup?
Well, they still got to get that stadium deal done.
Like 5 years from now, we're going to have all major men's professional sports in Las Vegas.
Yes.
How is there not a soccer team there yet?
I mean, they have been long on the MLS's radar for expansion. Our constant discussion about MLS expansion was helpful the other day when that conversation about how many teams are there now in MLS came up in the Storm media room.
They were talking about that?
So for a long period of time,
You were like, well, you have to look to Asheville as the next site for MLS.
For a long period of time, the NCAA did not allow championships to be held in the state of Nevada because of the legalized gambling there. So it's only recently that started. And now a lot of them are held there.
Okay.
But I don't think they're moving the Women's College World Series there.
Oklahoma wouldn't let go of it over their cold, dead hands.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, no. All right, a quick UW football note. Oregon cornerback Darren Barkins announced that he is committed to UW as a transfer. The 2021 recruit has 3 years of remaining eligibility. Played 4 games while redshirting his first year at Oregon, 8 games last year with 29 total defensive snaps.
Woo! You know we love this. You know we love this number one of anything. He said, I want to go to the fastest school in the Pac-12. And that's how he ended up at the University of Washington.
He was really monitoring the NCAA track results.
Look.
Or the Pac-12 track results.
That was the deal. Darren Parkins said, whoever is faster, that's where I'm going. Oregon, UW, fastest school. We're a running school. I get that. We have athletes at the University of Washington. Oregon, they're slow. They're prodding. I understand. It's nice.
Did you say prodding or plotting?
Prodding.
I think the word is
Plotting.
plotting.
They prod too.
Oh, man. I don't doubt that.
At no point has Mario Cristobal been the coach of the University of Washington.
That is an accurate statement. Although Mario Cristobal never hit one of his players in the face
Hasn't
during
he
the
signed
Oregon
Darren Parkins?
Yes. Yes, he would have signed there then.
Something about Mario Cristobal made him want to play in Eugene, but okay. We'll see. I mean, Kalen DeBoer seemed very excited about this one.
I didn't see that.
It was like a special woof.
Oh, okay.
It was a big woof. I mean, you're flipping a player from Oregon. Like, come on.
Well, he had already, was in the transfer portal. It's not like he was just going to go back to Oregon in all likelihood.
But he was in the transfer portal, and then he transferred to the University of Washington
He
from
did.
Oregon. It's not the leaving, the fact that he entered the transfer portal that was the issue. It was, you took a player from Oregon. It's a little extra special.
Okay.
This is the seeing the darkness of the transfer portal.
Oh, man, there's darkness all over the place these days.
Had Jake Hayner returned, we don't have a problem with Fresno State.
We also don't have a problem with Jake Hayner's photo shoot.
Or Indiana.
Yeah?
There's nothing personal about that. It's good to have a good player, but flipping a player from Oregon is a bigger deal.
All right, let's wrap up with the Seahawks, where we've also got some cornerback news. Unfortunately, Tariq Woolen underwent arthroscopic knee surgery Tuesday that is expected to sideline him until training camp, per my ESPN colleagues Adam Schefter and Brady Henderson. Woolen felt soreness in his knee last week ahead of OTAs. The Seahawks simultaneously on Tuesday re-signed veteran cornerback Artie Burns, a move Bob Condotta reported was in the works before they learned Woolen would need knee surgery. The former Steelers first-round pick saw action in 3 games for the Seahawks last season after signing a 1-year deal.
I will tell you, we talked about strength on strength when we did our draft recap. And after seeing this news, there was never a better time to have drafted a cornerback in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't change Tariq Woolen's long-term outlook at all,
But still,
yeah.
it was like, if they hadn't drafted Devin Witherspoon in the top 5, I think we'd be a little bit more nervous. Right now, you can confidently say, at this point, even if Tariq Woolen is still injured heading into the season, we don't know. Any reports about him being back for training camp, I'm still pretty skeptical about.
I mean, depending on the type of arthroscopic knee surgery, it can be, it's a 8 to 12 week situation.
It'll probably be fine, but you never know. And honestly, training camp's coming up pretty soon here.
When I said the 8 to 12 weeks, I did the math, and 12 weeks is in fact well into the preseason. I think at the conclusion of preseason.
That's August,
basically.
right?
Yes.
So, again, there was never a better time to have drafted a cornerback in the top 5, and it definitely it lessened the blow of this news. I mean, ultimately, the goal is to have Devin Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen play across from each other. But if Tariq Woolen is still going to be recovering, you want to have a lot of cornerbacks. That's just the deal. I think the Seahawks, I think they're kind of proven right pretty quickly here.
I don't think they needed to be proven right on the positional value of cornerback.
No.
So.
But they were proven right within the needing of depth of cornerbacks, is what I'm saying. Of not just saying, check, we've got it done.
Correct.
So, I mean, I hope that Tariq recovers very quickly and is back by training camp and is amazing as ever.
He certainly expressed a lot of optimism on
He
Instagram.
did. I fucking love Tariq Woolen. I saw that and I was just like, no. Right? If we had to rank this, I don't think we should do this because this is a sinister thing to do. But if you were to rank
Just most important Seahawks. Just say that it's most important.
I'm not going to say most important Seahawks. Athletes who are playing in the city of Seattle. How about this? Instead of not who we'd like to have injured the least, but who we are young athletes who are most excited by. Julio is obviously like batting average, whatever aside. Julio's at a different level. But like beyond that, Tariq Woolen is number 2. I mean, Kellenic. There's a lot of Mariners I could list. Bryce Miller, George Kirby.
The rotation. Matty Beniers has to be in this conversation.
Oh, yeah, Beniers.
So,
But like Tariq Woolen is really high up there. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think I'm probably more excited about than Devin Witherspoon, but maybe even more so than Tariq Woolen.
yeah, it's just never going to be as exciting a cornerback as a skill position player.
But that's kind of it right there, right? That's everybody. And I mean, I guess obviously Charles Cross and people like that as well.
Also, again, just not as exciting as skill position players. So important to have competent tackle play, but not as exciting.
So if you were to choose young players in Seattle you were most excited about in the city of Seattle, Tariq Woolen ranks
Top 5?
players under 25. Julio. For me, Kellenic. Kellenic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Kelnick hit one of the 10 longest homers in the history of T-Mobile Park
I just
yesterday.
don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
Bryce Miller or Kirby?
Probably still Kirby.
Maybe also Bryce Miller.
Maybe also Bryce Miller, yes.
And then is it... it's got to be JSN.
I still think Woolen, because we've seen him play at the NFL level. He's been a Pro Bowler.
It's pretty fucking wild. Ahead of Matty Beniers.
Yeah. Because it's just, with all due respect to the Kraken, they're still not as important to us as the Seahawks.
Okay. So he is a top 5 young player in the city of Seattle that we're most excited about.
Yeah.
So, again, hope that Tariq Woolen recovers quickly.
For sure. On that note,
Thanks for listening.
thanks.